Show you a few more things. So I'll make a new artboard here. I'm going to the bottom area, selecting my artboard tool, creating an artboard. And I want to show you first the blend tool. So let's say I wanted to have something shift from one shape to another shape. So I can have, let's say I want to go from a circle to a star. So I can draw a circle here. So I'm drawing a circle, and if I hold shift, it'll make it a circle. If I don't hold shift, it'll be whatever shape, kind of oval-y shape I choose. I'll just make it a circle, and I'll give it a fill color so that we can kind of see it better. Let's pick this orange, and I'll just remove my stroke for now, so it'll just be a shape. And then over here, I'm gonna draw a star. And I could make my star a different color. Let's make it pink. No, maybe let's make it something more different. So let's make it blue. Okay. Now, these two exist as separate entities. If I use my blend tool, W, I click on it, and then I click first on the first shape, then on the second shape. It will create, it will blend. Yeah, it will blend them. So now, here they are. It's kind of like one giant thing. It's turned into a continuous shape extrusion kind of. But in blend options I can also change. So in here I have I just click on my blended thing. In quick actions down here in the properties I have a blend options, and if I click that I can change it from here. It says smooth color, and I can change it to, in the drop down menu, specified steps. So right now it's a lot of steps, so that's why it looks continual. But if I just said 3 steps, right? So I said 3 steps. There's now only 3 steps between my 2 shapes. So you can kind of see it more gradually. I can go up one at a time. So I can kind of, there's different uses of this tool. If you want it to be a continuous thing, you know, oh, maybe this is kind of an interesting look. So you can kind of look in, you can change kind of how you're applying it or using it. And these shapes are still live as well, so I can change so right now, when I click this, it's the whole kind of applied, blended shape that I'm selecting. But if I go and double click on my star, now you can see that it's only clicking on that. Everything else has gone kind of gray, and I can now have access to its appearance fill. I can change that to a different color, and you know, that applies the effect differently. It will apply it to my whole effect. I can also double click my star and move it around, and it will apply the blended effect in whatever way, wherever I'm moving it to, which is also fun. You could, you know, make multiple. Here I'm making another one, and they're all playing around on this fun artboard. So that's pretty fun. What else could I do? Yeah, I won't confuse you all too much. So let's see. Yeah. You could think about, you know, I'll just show you if you did 2 of these in a row. So I'm moving my star here. What if I created a new one where I make a new star, or I copy this star? So if I double click on this star, copy, paste it. Oh, I have to paste it in place. So objects, paste in front is fine. So now it's sitting in front of this other one, but it's a different star. I'll give it a different color so it's clear. So they both still exist. And I could have, you know, a tiny star here, let's say that is blue. And now I create the same effect on these. So I'm first clicking my first star and then my second star. And then, you know, it could be kind of a continuous, you could make, if I had applied the same effect, so if I went in here on my star and I apply the same effect I had, this color, it could look more like it's one continuous thing moving from one to another. It's kind of like thinking of it as animation. You're kind of faking it. So again, in my blend options, I could change it to different amounts of steps. Um, yeah, so you could think about if that, oops, so I distorted my star here and I don't want to do that, so I could double click it. Oops, I'm double clicking it and then just moving it around. But yeah, when you move it around, it also moves that initial star around. So anyway, this was just to show you you could create something that looks like it's just one big thing moving around in space, but really it's two different things moving around in space, and changing. So there you go. That's the blend tool. I want to show you some other things. So you can also, let's make a new document. You know, if I have type here or anything, a shape, my star, I can use this tool to shift it around. I believe that's what it does. I don't know exactly the purpose of it. Scale it. Woo! I'm making it larger or smaller. If I hold shift, it'll keep the integrity of the star, but it kind of, you know, changes the angle it's on. You have to play around. I'm not sure, you know, I'm going to type robot. I'm not sure of all of these exactly. I'm not sure that I can explain why they do certain things. So this one, it shifts it on, it kind of holds the center point of the R and kind of creates a, well, you see it shifts around on a circle. This one, scale tool, also using that R as my anchor point. I'm sure you could change what the anchor point is. Robot. And then reflect tool, what does that do? Just changes, yeah, it's reflected. You'll have to play around. Shear tool, they're all, I probably should start a new one every time so it's easier to see. Maybe if it might apply it differently based on whether it's a shape or not. So now I'm just kind of, it basically applies it on an angle, you know, as you can see from the drawing. It shears. I don't know exactly what that means. Sorry. If I just do R and then I outline that, so Shift Command O, and then I apply that, it might affect it differently. So yeah, it just stretches it on an angle, on like a diagonal plane. So these are all usable things, but they do distort the type quite a bit, so you'd have to have a real reason to do something like that. You can't just do that because you know, like the look. So now I'm going to show you how to apply a gradient, which is a lot easier to do in Illustrator than it is in some of these other programs that we've looked at before. So I'll draw first a shape, so I'll just keep with my star, or I already clicked on gradient, so it's doing it already, but yours will probably first look like this. And I'll also do some type, robot again, and I'll duplicate that so I have multiple. So in my shape, here's my star, and so I have my fill here. So if I just click on the appearance fill, you can see that 3 of them are already gradients. I can also down here in my left hand panel where I have colors, the second option is gradient. So I'll click that. Now, when I click it, it pops up this little gradient panel. You can probably go under window, gradient, and you find it. So now what's fun is I can change the colors to being anything I want, but I have all these different steps that I can change if I want to. Here we go. And if you want to just delete one, so you see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 little increments, so I'm changing, like between the green and this orange, there's this yellow. I could make it be this pink, and then I can kind of change it however I want. So it's saying like, here are the steps between these different gradient, like between each step in this gradient, these are the colors it shifts to. But I could also, if I wanted to, just delete one by dragging. If I drag and I kind of drag away out, it removes it. So there's a way you can probably also just trash it. Yeah, so if I just click on a specific stop, I can go to this little trash can here, delete stop, and it will delete that color. So that's just good to know. You can move them around, so it's saying, okay, if you look at the way it's applying it, oh, I'm also in the radial gradient. I'm not sure if that's what you all are, but it affects each one differently. So you can, you know, if it were just this linear gradient, yours would look like this. Radial is saying this is the center to outer. It's applying them differently. And I don't know what yours would have started off as, but you can kind of change things around. You can add a ton more stops if you want to. There's a lot of control that you have here over how your gradient functions. And you can also at the top, you can edit how much between, like right now they're all centered, these little triangle lozenges things, they're all centered on between the points. If you shift them around, it'll kind of alter. There's a lot less of this, so the gradient's happening only between this part of the color and this part of the color. So you do have a lot of control over your gradients in Illustrator. On the right side here, there's this new thing called freeform gradient. When I click that, it's kind of buffering, but it's pretty fun. You can, on your shape itself, you can add points and kind of create a color, move it around. So you're actually directly affecting where the things are on the shape, which is pretty lovely. Fun. And you can, I'm clicking this, you can make it larger or smaller, it looks like. I can move it around wherever I want, and it'll kind of multiply the colors based on where I'm moving it. So it's a pretty fun thing they added, I think, last year. So that's gradients in a shape. So now if I want to apply it to my type, I think you can just apply it. No, you don't appear to be able to just apply it when it's still live type. I think it's it's too much for the computer to process. I'm not sure why, but you have to outline it. So I'll go here and say create outline, or you know how to do it, Shift Command O. So I'll just do it on all of mine, Shift Command O or Shift Control O. Now they're all outlines, and I can apply my gradient here, fill gradient. And if I really like this gradient that I made, you know, this one, because it's freeform, I don't think I can actually save it. But if it were not freeform, but this old one we had made before, which has now disappeared, I could save it. Sorry, I'll just undo this. But I could save it in my gradients panel. So let's go ahead and do it again here. Here's my robot. I double click the actual gradient itself, which is the middle button here, and I'm gonna change it to being green to purple. Maybe I'll remove some steps just for the sake of time, and I'll add, I'm just picking kind of random colors. Okay, let's say this is my new gradient. I love it. In my fill, I can add one, new swatch. So I create a new swatch, robot gradient. Now I can always go back to it later. Okay, in Illustrator, you should be saving, by the way, because Illustrator will crash and you'll lose everything. So make sure you save. So one thing that you just want to notice here is the gradient is applied on each letter individually. It's not a full apply on the whole gradient. So if I wanted to apply to the full gradient, I have to make my robot, my word, a compound path first. So the way to do that is Command 8 or Control 8. So now it's a compound path. You see that it kind of removed the fill. It's just an outline. When I now go under fill, when I want to go and fill it up, and I click my gradient again, the same one we made, it's now applying to my full word as a whole. So yeah, that's it. Compound path. And I really feel I really need to kern these letters, but I'm double clicking on my word, and then I can move my individual letters around. Okay, and that's it for gradients.